All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we are live worldwide right here, right now, with the one and only, the very talented Keary Kase. How you doing this evening?
It is true. I'm here. We are live. I'm good.
Hey man, I want to say first and foremost, man, I've been a fan of your music, man, for a long time, since way back in 2001, man, when you actually dropped the record "Life of a Star," man. So it's an honor to have you on my platform.
I appreciate that, man. It's good to have people who follow. You know what I mean? Followers are very important in this world today, man. So I appreciate you dropping the Life of a Star. That's the original.
Hey man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have that in my question list as well. But first and foremost, man, I
Okay.
want to take you right back to the beginning. I want to ask you, like, what made you actually decide to get into the music industry from the start?
I mean, from the beginning, I've always listened to music. You know, music is like a gift from above. You know, vibration and tone. So, youngster, music is just like the source of everything for me. You know, I learned from music. I felt music. I love music. I learned to my family played lots of good music. I have to give blessings to my mom and my stepdad and the rest of my family who play good music. But getting into the industry of music is a different story. So, you know, uh, writing, creative writing and all that kind of stuff, man, just being very creative. One day, a couple of my friends and I sat down, and as hip hop fans, we were like, we wanted to try this, man. We were listening to hip hop on the radio, and we see some people at shows, and so we were like, hey, man, let's try to write a rhyme, you know? And so I did, and I took it very seriously. And, you know, I would the same rhyme, I'd take the rhyme to different places, and I did it at a talent show. I won a talent show. I would change the verbiage to fit a certain MC, and I'd step to an MC and battle him with that one rhyme that I wrote. So at that point, man, you know, when people would kind of feedback and I saw the effect that music had on people, even later as a DJ, it made me realize that that was something that was for me.
And also, I read something as well that you were actually known as you're also known as pioneering hip hop actually in Portland. I have to ask you, how does it feel to just be able to be known as the individual that's actually pioneering the hip hop culture out there?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there was a few of us that started off. It wasn't just me, but there were a few of us, a very few of us in Portland, Oregon, where hip hop wasn't really something that people really embraced off the top. You know, although you hear it on the radio and stuff like that locally, you know, being in a very white city and state, you know, at the time, people were not really checking for hip hop. You know, so it was kind of a rough road to establish hip hop as a genre here in Portland and actually do shows and have people allow us to use venues and, you know, to allow us to promote this art. You know, we're talking about like the 90s, you know, like the early 90s. You know, some areas people didn't really love hip hop. So it felt good to conquer that and to actually later be able to open doors for some of the new artists today, you know, that are reaping the benefits of what we did.
And also, as I brought up at the beginning of the interview, man, about your 2001 record titled Life of a Star, I have to ask you, what's the story and inspiration behind that phenomenal record, man? Because from track one, I think, all the way from, I think there's like 12 or 13 tracks on the record, but I have to say, every single song, there's no skippers actually on that record.
Yeah, yeah. Life of a Star, during that period of time, I was really just involved with lots of different things. I was doing some athletic modeling for Nike and just kind of buzzing in Portland, you know, just really getting my name out in Portland. And some of the local papers were covering me. I was on billboards. And so it was kind of something in my head, you know what I mean? I kind of was feeling myself a little bit at that time. I was like, oh, man, this is what it feels like. This is the life of a star right here. And the title track was called Life of a Star, and it featured me and this dude named Gutta. And we took that song, Life of a Star, produced by this guy, Tory Ward. We took it to the radio station here for the first time. And they were like, okay, you know, this one kind of rocks right here. And so we going to put it on the Battle of the Beats. And at the time, it was like Scarface and some other mainstream artists that were out there, and people voted our song as the winner. So it kind of propelled the rest of the album right there.
And I have to say, my favorite track off that record as well is actually Uki Machine, man. I love that song, man.
You're not playing when you said you listened to everyone and you didn't skip. My guy, shout out to my guy Cool Nuts from Portland. If you're a Portlander or you heard anything about Portland, you got to know who Cool Nuts is. And at the time, Cool Nuts was featured on that album too. But man, he was like, Dookie Machine is it. He was like, if y'all don't know about the Dookie Machine, y'all got to check that out. But yeah, when I look back at that record, man, that whole record, not the record, but the entire album, right? There's some I'm going to go back to, man, and put the right mixes on. And Dookie Machine, you're right, my brother. You're right, family. That is a hot track right there.
And I gotta say, man, they don't make music like that anymore, man. So it's always good to have a little refresher, you know what I mean? To go back to those times. And Uki Machine, man, is one of those tracks you can sit back and vibe, and it'll take you back to the millennium, take you back to the early 2000s when life was just easy.
Right. No doubt. And shout out to my guy TSL. That was produced by a guy out of Eugene, Oregon. For all these Oregonians, man, Eugene is like probably an hour and 20 minutes south of Portland, and he produced a lot of that album. PSL, man, that guy is a beast, just dedicated to the heart. You got a lot of people, man, out here in Oregon that just do it for the love, man. You do hip-hop for the love, right? And you've never heard of these guys, but, man, beast producer, that dude right here, he sent me one today. I'm like, dang, I got to get on one of these new ones right here. But, yeah, man, I really appreciate you bringing up that album because it's one of my favorites. It's the first one that I ever dropped, and it's definitely one that I'm going to reapproach and remix and re-release.
And also, a couple years later, in 2004, you actually dropped the record Get Down or Lay Down, man, which was another phenomenal record. I have to ask you, that one and also Life of a Star, are those albums still available, like, to be purchased today?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about Get Down or Lay Down, and there was also Live Fast and Die Hard. These are mixtapes. And at that period of time, it was like probably early 2000s, I believe. And I had a song called Ooh Wee, and I was banging on the radio everywhere. That's when I was really feeling myself. And after I dropped Ooh Wee, I was like, all right, man, I had all this other material that I really wasn't feeling was single worthy, but there were a verse here, a verse there, and I said, so I'm going to put these out on the mixtape. And again, the local station here, 95.5, station that Ebro came from, everybody knows Ebro, but he was here. Wow. Man, they loved that mixtape right there, man, and pubbed it. And it was just if I listen to that today, man, I'm like, damn, I was really feeling myself at that time. Lyrically, that shit, excuse my language, that is hot. But I'm going to tell you something that you need to know about the mixtape. Those were cut freestyle, okay? Get Down or Lay Down, Live Fast, Die Hard, most of those are just off the top, freestyle with chorus. That's the significance of those albums.
That's really cool. So you just went in the booth and just spit it, and the next thing you know, like, the label or yourself was like, yo, we like this, man. Let's leave it where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, I would go in. A lot of times I still don't write to this day. But back then, I would go in and just off the top. If you're doing it a lot, any MCs that are doing it all the time, you start to think a lot faster. We know what freestyling is. You start to think fast, and you can just kind of bring it like that. It might be loose or whatever it is. It could be very lyrically technical or whatever it is. But you drop it off the top, and the vibe that it creates from that is very different than something that's just structured, and I'm going to write this with 16 bars and an 8-bar hook and a 4-bar intro, 8-bar bridge or whatever. It's got a lot more feel to it. Now, once you put it down like that, to come back into the studio and clean it up is not a bad idea. So I would do that as well.
And also, as we both already know, we got connected through a legendary West Coast artist by the name of OG Suicide. I have to ask you, how did you meet OG Suicide originally, and do you guys have any future projects currently in the works?
My guy, OG Suicide, that's my family right there. And everybody make sure you check out his live tonight. He's got the live show, OGs Are Forever, man. You got to check that out. But I had a mentee, a guy who I brought into music years ago, before Life of a Star. His name is Unique INT, and phenomenal singer as well. He's an R&B artist, and he was going through a rough patch in life. And he hit me up and he said, "Hey man, I need you to help get this wind back under my wings." And I was like, okay. I was at the time I was in California, and he was in Portland, and so back and forth we kind of just played with some music, and he'd send me something, and I'd say, hey, maybe try it like this, try it like that. But we ended up getting back, and I came to Portland during the pandemic, to be close to my family, and we started recording. We dropped a song called She a Thot, and then we followed up with Craze, which is the song I'm currently pushing now. And he was really excited about all of this music. He was very excited about it and wanted to share it with a lot of people. And I said, hey, man, doing things locally and word of mouth is great, and just talking about it on your social media platforms is also great. But, we need a team for this. We need a solid team, and I don't want to play around with music unless we have the right players to get behind it. And that's when he put me on the phone with OG. And he and I, when I spoke to OG for the very first time, he and I we just kind of vibed together. We had a real conversation. There weren't any kind of plastic, facades or anything like that. We just were real with each other, and man, and that's how we've always been. And that's why I say that's my family. I can't say that he's just a guy that I work with. That's my family right there, And we're definitely working on, right now we're working on a single with an artist named AB out of Compton. That's OG's people. I actually just got the verse from AB last night, and I'm putting my verse on it, so very soon we're going to drop that one. And, man, what can I say? Me and OG are never going to stop. Me and OG Suicide, man, it's till the wheels fall off with that guy.
And I have to say, man, he is a phenomenal individual. Man, I've never seen an individual that does so much for the community, man. And also, I've never seen an actual celebrity actually give their number out. When I actually was interviewing him, I think it was about last year or so ago, this man gave his phone number out and said, anybody that's going through any, mental health problems and has no one to talk to, call me. And he gave his number live on the air. I couldn't believe it. Just because, that's the type of person he is, man. He's very down to earth.
That's beautiful, man. That's why I love that guy, man. I did the same thing the other day, and I didn't know that he ever had done that. But like I said, we vibe on so many levels. And what music is really about is giving to people. Like, even the music that we make is not for us. We make it for the enjoyment of people. And a guy like OG Suicide has so much to offer people because of the things that he's been through. He's a very understanding guy. So I'm not surprised to hear that he gave the world his phone number.
And also, as you mentioned earlier, you were actually involved in a Nike campaign as well. But also, aside from that, you also partnered with Adidas designers to create Redder. I was wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about that. And of course, where can our listeners actually grab themselves some Adidas designs?
Yeah, definitely. During the Life of a Star period of time, when that dropped, which was like early 2000s, I was also involved in competitive martial arts, Olympic-style taekwondo. And I went to U.S. Nationals and did well, went to the national team trials and did well there. And Nike approached me about doing some ad work, some athletic modeling. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course, let's do it. And, local photographer Marcus Swanson shot the ad, and it was on billboards across the United States with Nike. So historically, though, beyond just that, being a local, like in Oregonian, Nike's here in Portland, basically in Beaverton, a suburb of Portland, I've always partnered with them. They helped me out through high school as a basketball player. They gave me shoes for wear testing, and I would get free shoes that way. As a skateboarder later in life, they gave me free shoes, and I would do skateboard demos for their corporate guys. So Nike's always been in my corner, and they still are. They still support me. However, last year, I was focused on CBD delivery systems and kind of supporting athletes who are trying to heal their injuries, right? And I know that we all know the sleeves that you might put on. So you have a strain, you put a support, like a compression sleeve on your muscle, right? And so I was figuring out how to use those as delivery systems. So I partnered with a materials designer at Adidas, and they liked the idea and approached me about doing a brand called Rudder. Now, for me, the corporate machine is great to have in your corner, but a lot of times it can move too slow, right? And so for me, I had to separate from my partners there, and I've continued with Rudder, and it's still something that's being put together and under wraps. For people who are interested in the Rudder brand, they can inbox me on IG, and I can send them samples, but it's not ready for sale now.
I gotta say, when it does come out for sale, I'm gonna have to say this for a fact. Adidas is kind of like my weakness. I personally love Adidas products, so whenever they get rolled out, man, I'm most definitely gonna hit you up and be like, "Yo, I need me some of that."
So you don't rock Nike then, huh?
I don't mind Nike. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind Nike. I've always been an Adidas kind of guy. I don't know. I like excuse me. I just like the designs of the shoes, the designs, the logo. I don't know. I like Nike. I'm more of an Adidas kind of guy. I can't even tell you really why. I just wherever my heart goes, I just follow it.
Okay, so I bet you, like, I'll say that you're probably an Adidas Originals guy.
Oh yeah, most definitely. I'm gonna be honest. When I was younger, man, I don't know if you ever seen Wayne's World. You know when Garth was sitting there rocking the Adidas doing the fake commercial. I was like that when I was a kid, man. I had Adidas from head to toe.
Well, yeah, I feel you, man. Adidas is hip hop, like Run DMC, LL Cool J, original hip hop, b-boyism. We had Adidas and Puma. Nike wasn't there, not really. However, I feel like Nike in its technology, what I love about Nike is that they're at the forefront of technology for footwear and athletic wear. Now, Adidas is there as well, so it's a toss-up. They're both in my backyard. They both have supported me, so I love both brands.
Most definitely, and I agree with that. Like I've bought some some Nike shorts before. I don't mind the products. It's just whenever I buy Nike down the line, it's gonna be like, you know what, man, I need to get me some more Adidas.
Yeah, you're an Adidas guy, okay?
You know, I try my best to switch it up, but I'm a very like kind of narrow-minded person. So once I got my mind made up, it's like, nah, man, there's no point. You just let him do his thing.
Nah, man, you do you. You know what feels good to you. You know what works well with you. So there it is. And there's no need to feel any kind of way about that. It's all a matter of personal preference.
And also, back to the music side of things, I also read that you had an interesting encounter with Wu-Tang Clan member Capadonna. I have to ask you, can you tell us a bit more about that? And of course, what's the story actually behind that encounter?
Yeah, shout out to Cap and Killer Priest and the Wu-Tang Clan. But yeah, again, this is, Portland times, and a lot of people come through. So if you go come through to my city, you're going to see me, right? Because I'm out there. So they would come through. Everybody would come through here. Anybody you can name has come through here. Now, Cap and those guys would stay at my house when they came here. So if anybody knows about the Wu-Tang Clan, especially in the 90s, a lot of those dudes are more mellow now, right? You see Method Man's an actor now, and RZA has won all types of awards for film and all that kind of stuff. But, those dudes were rah-rah. Everybody knew them as the rah-rah, the Wu-Tang Clan. So they lived up to that, So it was some guys in my house being a little wild, what I mean? It's my house where I'm living. So I came back, and they're being themselves, and I'm being myself. And so I didn't know Cap. I was just meeting Cap at that time. And so I didn't know if it was a beefy type thing, or if this dude, thought that he was coming to Portland and he found this dude, this suburban black man in Portland, Oregon, because people don't think there's no black people out here. So, maybe I was on the defensive a little bit about that. But, as things played out, Cap was like, hey, man, love is love. Let's talk. We shook hands. We became friends. I showed him the city. I took all of those guys, Capadonna, Killer Priest, and Rush, Ricochet Rush was the guy's name. We went to my mom's restaurant and took them to the hood and showed them kind of stuff. You know, at the time we still had a hood. It's gentrified now, but you know, we had a good time and we made a couple good records as well, and we have the experience now to talk about.
Hey man, most definitely. You know, the Wu-Tang Clan, they most definitely were wild back in the day, man. But they made some hella dope records as well. I seen the Wu-Tang Clan live about 2 years ago at Blues Fest in Ottawa, Ontario, and I gotta say, they know how to stir the crowd up, man. Let's just put it like that. I've never been to a hip hop show where they actually had a mosh pit. I was like, wow, damn, I'm gonna jump in this.
That's it. I mean, listen to that. Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang, man. Everybody started screaming that, man. It can't be anything but a mosh pit. And you think Method Man, look at Method Man. He used to do the craziest stage dives, and he surfed the crowd. Man, Meth was a performer. ODB, man. I'm the one man, homie, A-Son. I never been taken out. Man, I'm a Wu-Tang Clan fan for sure.
Oh man, same here. Don't get me wrong. Like, obviously ODB passed away when I saw them, but his son was there, and his son did a phenomenal job. Method Man wasn't there, unfortunately, but Ghostface Killah and the rest of the crew was there, so it still turned out to be a phenomenal show. I was a little just a little upset that Method Man wasn't there, but I was like, you know what, man, he's probably doing movies. You know, maybe next time, right?
Well, you know, a lot of the guys didn't have the same success as some of the other ones. Like Meth has transferred his music into an acting career. You know, he was just on Power. I just recently saw him on Power. He's been on a lot of different movies and shows, though. But Meth turned it into an acting career. Like we said before, RZA in film. And some of the other guys didn't go that route. We got Raekwon, who is dope lyricist. I feel like Raekwon is the one who created really that ambiance, that unique flow that Wu-Tang had. You know, champion gear that I rock and get your boots knocked. Who does not remember that quote? That's Raekwon. Ghostface, Bulletproof Wallets. You know, You God, Capadonna, man. The Rebel INS, a lot of those guys didn't have the same success. So, you know, the Jizza, so you're going to see them on more tours, and you're going to see, like, RZA and Meth, and then ODB's gone. ODB was huge, too.
And I also read as well that you were actually working on a mini-series for Netflix. If you don't mind me asking, can you tell us a bit more about that series? And, of course, what can our listeners actually expect from that when it does drop?
Well, I worked with a guy, Ha Kyung Wong, DreamWorks, years ago, and we hit it off. We did a martial arts film together. I co-starred in it. And, you know, he was like, hey, man, I'd love to work with you. And I moved away from L.A. And just recently, Ha has been working in the Taiwanese market, the Chinese and Taiwanese market. And he's been really pushing me to write. And I'm like, Hot, man, I'm not, you know, I don't write films. I don't write scripts. I don't do that. And Hot was like, look at your life. Draw from your life experience. And he enlightened me in that moment. And I said, wow, okay, so if I just basically take my life experiences, and maybe not chronologically, but take your life experiences and, you know, maybe you alter them to create a show. I was like, I can do that. And so that's what I've been doing is living life, just kind of looking in hindsight at things that I've done and experiences I've done and talking about them. And we're in the process of writing those things now. So kind of something to look out for in 2021. We're planning on doing a series of shorts for YouTube first to do on Netflix. But you gotta crawl before you walk. I don't want to just go off the top and be like, all right, my first workout, we're gonna go straight to Netflix. But the ties are there. With Hawk's got all the ties there, and that's what we're shooting for.
And also, on August 11th, you actually dropped the single Craze. I have to ask you, what's the story behind that amazing single? And of course, where can our listeners actually buy or stream themselves a copy of that single?
Well, Craze is a song that I created with Unique INC here, and we were working together, and introspective track for me, just kind of looking back on my life here in Portland and some of my experiences, and kind of just being honest and talking about where I was during those periods of time. And if you look at the video, it's cruising through Portland and kind of me going through all the spots and places that I like to be. And it's just really a song that it's a record that you turn on and you cruise to, and you kind of think about life, you ponder life. We have to realize that Craze was dropped during this international pandemic, right? And all of us have been thinking about life, like the things that are important to us in life. And so that's where I was. We were able to shoot the video, even though we were on a COVID-19 lockdown and there were riots here in Portland. We were able to pull it off and make it happen. If you notice in the video, there's not a whole lot of me on camera, but it's more of the beauty of Portland, and lots of scenes to see, like beauty to really just kind of zone out to and feel the energy of. And that's every time I listen to the song, I kind of start zoning out myself. But anybody that wants to hear the song, it's available on all platforms. You can go to Spotify, you can go to Apple Music, wherever you like to use to listen to your music, you can find it there for sure.
And if you don't want me asking,
video's available on YouTube.
With the riots going on during the filming of that music video, did it did the police ever stop you or anything like that, or were you guys were the riots at the other end of the city and you guys were at the other end filming?
No, we shot it right downtown Portland, and it was right there on the cusp of when we were just going from the pandemic lockdowns, which are still happening. You're not supposed to be out, and then people were starting to riot, and so being a local, we just found the right spots and kind of ducked and dodged, and were able to avoid any of the nonsense that was happening. And I say nonsense because a lot of it, although we say that it was for Black Lives Matter, there's a lot of stuff that was going on that was not necessarily, and still is not necessarily, focused on Black Lives Matter. That's another story.
But I also have to ask you, Keary, what's next for you? Is there anything I happen to miss during this interview? Anything else you still want to promote with our live audience? Will we still have you here on 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM?
I mean, hey, be blessed. Enjoy life, enjoy music. Don't forget, I know you're in Canada right now. What's it like right out there? You guys, are they rioting still too? What's the black-white issue like over in Canada?
I wouldn't really say there's a lot of riots, but I'm going to be honest, there might be actually some rioting coming soon, and I'm going to be honest with you. There was an individual that actually got killed 4 years ago by the police. Long story short, the guy was handcuffed, and then the cop actually punched his nose in, and the nose caused him to have his broken nose caused him to have cardiac arrest.
Okay.
And the cop got off, so the rioting situation is starting to get a little riled up in the nation's capital of Ottawa.
I love it. Okay, and so that leads me into this. We have to realize that this is not something that's isolated to Portland or to New York or to America or whatever. This is international. Look at what's happening in Nigeria right now. This is what's happening. People who have authority are abusing their authority. They're letting us know that they can kill us, they can take away our liberties, they can do whatever they want with us. And for me, I look at it this way. If we're not willing to be uncomfortable or, lose a job or, maybe not get a bonus, or maybe somebody has to lose their life over this cause, it's never going to change. It has to be that serious for us. And that's what I'm going to leave these people with.
And this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual that comes on the radio station, just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to, but also your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and stay updated on everything Keary Kase if they're not already doing so.
Yeah, definitely. I want to shout out my guy, OG Suicide. Again, he's got a live concert now. If you go to his Instagram, it's at OG Suicide. That's OGCUICIDE. Go there, you can check out how you can get onto his concert tonight and check it out. It's going to be a good show. You don't want to miss it. If you want to find Keary Kase, hey, Google Keary Kase, KearyKase. You will find all things Keary Kase. You can also go to my link tree. That's linktr.ee/P_STYLE. And you're going to find my music, my video, and all the links to interviews and anything that I've done this year.
And I gotta say, Keary, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy evening and coming on 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM. Like you already could tell from the beginning of the interview, I've been a fan since the early 2000s, so thank you so much for years of amazing music, and I'm looking forward to even more years of amazing music coming from the Portland legend like yourself.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're most certainly welcome. You have yourself a wonderful night.